Welcome to Copilots.
I don't think that's what this is this time.
I mean, it's not a Copilots review, but we're still the Copilots.
Oh, are we? I mean, cool. I didn't know that. I thought my title was strictly tied to the thing I was doing at the current moment. Like, most of the time, I think I'm just living guy.
Oh, no, we're still the Copilots, and this is still the Copilots podcast. But this is a very special episode, because this time we're infringing upon the territory of professionals.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, we're stepping on the toes of people like Movie Mastery and We Hate Movies.
I'm okay with this.
For this episode, for this special holiday episode, we're reviewing my second favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Only second favorite?
I mean, it's not Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
That is fantastic, actually, and I don't think most people are going to disagree with you that it's an amazing Christmas movie. However, this one, I think we're going to get a lot of disagreement with people about, right? I mean, we both love it.
I mean, it's just Arnold Schwarzenegger's, piece de resistance, the crown of his entire career, better than anything else he's ever done.
I mean, I'm not sure about that. Hercules New York, his first movie, when he's not even Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like, what, Arnold Strong, I think is what they built him as?
I have no idea.
I think it was billed as Arnold Strong in Hercules New York. I think that was the fucking name of the movie.
I don't even know what that movie is. I've never heard of it.
It's amazing. If I remember correctly, it's one of those person from past gets time traveled to future by somehow, and it is now out of place and tearing up city.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like a Christmas movie, so that's obviously not what we're reviewing.
I mean, it could be a Christmas movie.
I mean, yeah, Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Die Hard's the best Christmas movie. If you're a middle-aged man who has never gotten over the fact that action films are not the top-tier brow of movies and are actually generally kind of boring plot-wise, but there's guns and explosions, and that one has Bruce Willis.
Hey, Die Hard is good.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I enjoy Die Hard, but it's not going to ever be a piece de resistance of movies. No matter what Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine says.
And it's definitely not a Christmas movie.
No, it just takes place during Christmas.
Just like The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie, not a Christmas movie. Cool. We're sharing wavelengths here. But in case anybody hasn't figured it out, the Arnold Schwarzenegger piece de resistance, the crown jewel of Arnold Schwarzenegger's
the creme de la creme
of Arnold Schwarzenegger's entire film career, Jingle All the Way, from 1996.
You know, I'd also go as far to say that this is Paul White's best film as well.
It's not Paul White's best appearance on screen, though. He's done some really good TV cameos.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but I think it's his best film.
I'm not for sure. I'd have to look through Paul White's...
Oh, yeah, I actually have no idea what else he's been in. I know he's been in some really shitty WWE properties.
Was he in The Longest Yard?
No, I don't
know there was a bunch of WWE's
Yeah, I don't
stars.
think he was.
Okay. Anyways.
He should have been.
This movie starts with an action scene.
A true traditional tokusatsu action scene.
It's Turbo Man and his trusty sidekick Booster.
The pink saber-toothed tiger. They never call him a saber-toothed tiger, but they do call him a tiger, and he does have saber teeth.
Facing off against his arch nemesis and the Demon Team.
His arch nemesis, Dementor.
We don't get his name yet.
Yeah, but it's Dementor.
We literally don't get the name until the end of the movie.
Yeah, but whatever. Fuck it.
That's fair. Honestly, guys, if you're listening to this, I assume you've seen this movie. You're probably just here to hear us shit on this movie, which is unfortunate for you, because we both love this.
I recognize it's a bad film, but
it's
nostalgia, and every Christmas movie is horrible anyway, so fuck off.
No.
Fight me.
Jim Carrey's The Grinch is amazing. It's a good movie, even outside of being a Christmas movie.
Okay, I think that's the only exception.
I also like some of the animated claymation movies. Mr. Snow.
Okay, I will revise my statement. Other than the Grinch, other than Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it is every live-action Christmas movie is shit.
I can't come up with a defendable point, so you're probably right. Although I haven't seen a vast array of Christmas horror movies.
They're not good, but I love them because they're schlocky. For anyone that's wondering, we had a Christmas horror movie we wanted to do this year, but
it's like $30 to watch online
for us to get access to it legally, and we would be doing it legally because we're not going to advertise something on here. Advertise basically. We're not going to review a show on here that's going to be only accessible through feasible means at expensive levels.
We've never pirated anything for this.
No, never.
I'm proud of us. Cheers.
I mean, basically, since I became an adult who makes money, I haven't pirated anything.
We're drinking wine. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to anybody that celebrates Christmas. And happy holidays for any other holidays you celebrate. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Congratulations, you celebrate a holiday much less mired in a social political quagmire.
What's the one where it's just a giant orgy? That's a holiday too.
Saturnalia, baby.
Yeah, if you celebrate that, happy Saturnalia.
If you celebrate Yule.
Yep. Happy holidays.
Keeping those pagan traditions strong, and also, I'd like to acknowledge, it's not strictly pagan if you know the origins of your roots and refuse to acknowledge the Christian ideology that just because you're not Christian, you're pagan. Even better for you, because it's true.
Anyways, let's get back to the movie because we barely got anywhere in it. Turbo Man and Booster are fighting off. You ruined the name. The name revealed the Mentor.
Oh no.
Like the Harry Potter evil things.
Clearly, J.K. Rowling ripped off Jingle All the Way, showing just how much this movie has influence over everything else.
I mean, obviously. And Crimson Chin and the Fairy Godparents.
Clearly still from Turbo Man, yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly stolen from Turbo Man. This movie is a cornerstone to society.
I would have to agree with you.
Well, at least
this is the movie that made Sinbad's acting and comedy career.
Yeah, nobody would have ever seen Shazam with Sinbad if it wasn't for this movie.
Exactly.
So, Turbo Man and Booster are fighting Dementor and the Demon Team, which are like putties from.
Yeah, except they do have collars themselves, but this is just a tokusatsu show for children, basically. Clearly, very much an American version of any tokusatsu, but I mean, any Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or any Power Rangers spin-off you've seen, most of the new ones are just straight up entirely made in America. Otherwise, they were dubbed over, and we had an American cast when they're not in the outfits, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And Turbo Man and Booster are trying to save Billy, the son of the President of the United States.
Yes, and he has to stop a bomb.
Mm-hmm. So Turbo Man shoots some turbo discs at Dementor.
Dementor shoots his fist off at Turbo Man.
And hits him in the face.
And then pulls his fist back.
And
Booster is useless.
Booster is useless. Everybody hates Booster.
Yeah, that's very much established, and that's understandable.
If you're over drinking age, every time we mention how everybody hates Booster,
go ahead and drink.
Take a drink. 100%.
Eggnog,
I'm going to do it.
wine, whatever. Yeah, why not? We got that bottle of wine in here. We can refill if we need to.
And I've got so much whiskey behind me that I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, we're fine.
So, then something happens here. I didn't quite catch it, but the Demon Team attacks Turbo Man, and Dementor teleports to a cliff.
Yeah, he throws a smoke bomb, I think, and teleports to a cliff. And Turbo Man beats the Demon Team, throws a Turbo Man Turbo Ring, I think is what they called them.
I think a Turbo Ring, yeah.
Throws a Turbo Ring, cuts the wire on the bomb, saves them. The president and his wife cheer, and then the First Lady screams when she sees that Dementor is holding Billy over the edge of a cliff.
And he lets him go and throws him off.
Yeah.
And then we find out Turbo Man can fly.
I mean, it was kind of obvious he had a giant jetpack on his back, and I think they flew into the scene.
And he also, when he goes to fly, he has to use his catchphrase. Do you remember what his catchphrase is?
I don't.
It's turbo time!
I was thinking of his other catchphrase.
We find out that this is all just a TV show that the kid is watching. The kid of the show, Jamie, is watching.
Yeah, we zoom out from there as he saves Billy, and the president's like, "Thank you, Turbo Man."
And I'm gonna steal some terminology from Movie Mastery here.
Do it.
Because Jamie's mom interrupts him. She's like, "You need to go get ready to leave," and he's like, "But Dad's not home." And we learn that Dad is busy working because all Dad does is work.
Because, much like System Master has put it, most problems in Christmas movies that involve a father at all, so most Christmas movies is, they're a bad dad, Christmas dad, because they work.
Yep, that's exactly the terminology I was going to steal as well.
Bad dad, Christmas dad.
Bad dad, Christmas dad. This is a bad dad, Christmas dad movie.
Also,
Movie Mastery, don't sue us for the copyright infringement.
I mean, you should go check out System Mastery, all of their stuff, and Movie Mastery especially, because that's what we're kind of doing here, except not nearly as good. And check out all their stuff, but because it's seasonal, check out their Christmas reviews, like last year's Bad Dad, Christmas Dad stuff.
Oh, are they doing Christmas stuff? I've been, binging books.
I said last year's. I don't know about this year. I have also I'm behind on my podcasts, which...
I've been binging Audible books instead of listening to podcasts, so I have 30-something podcasts backloaded on my podcast player.
Honestly, who listens to podcasts?
Me.
I mean, so do I. When we zoom out on Jamie and his mother talking to him, we do see a commercial for a Turbo Man action figure and all the accessories and all the additional things you can buy. Very much toys.
Mm-hmm.
because, oh my fucking god, you have one popular thing, and we have to have every other thing. Turbo Man is very much a toyetic show from the way it's portrayed.
Like G.I. Joe or Transformers.
Yeah, it's clearly a show that was made to sell toys.
Or Michael Bay's Battleship.
But not his Transformers or his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because for those to sell toys, they would have been successful.
You know, honestly, I think Battleship may be better rated on IMDb than either of those other franchises.
I think they are.
Don't hold me to that. I haven't checked.
At least the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I would have to assume.
Anyways, Jamie's mom is like, it's just, I bet your dad is working really hard right now.
And so we cut to an office party, but of course we're introduced to it with champagne popping.
Yep, champagne. It's wine. This is wine, not champagne, but...
Yeah. So we're led to assume initially that his dad's not busy working. His dad's busy partying up at the office.
But his dad is up in an office by himself, still working while everybody else is celebrating.
Because everybody is calling him about something. So he's dealing with clients.
He seems to be good at his job, but he is ignoring the fact that he's got to be at his kid's karate thing in 20 minutes.
Yeah, his assistant comes in with giant cue cards, basically printed up of, hey, remember your son? He has a karate thing in 20 minutes. You said you're going to be there. And he's like, I will. You said that half an hour ago. It's already prepared on one of the cards.
And then we get him going through a couple more customers, and eventually his wife calls.
Well, and it's important, I guess, to kind of know that, one, I have no idea what his fucking job is, because every person's complaint is something different.
Yeah.
And he closes each one with,
You're our number one customer.
I think he says you're my number one customer,
Maybe,
which is to, I assume, generate more of a personal connection, whatever.
Yeah.
And so when his wife calls and she's talking about, hey, don't forget Jamie's karate, he's like, of course, I'll be there. And remember, you're my number one customer. And he's like, wait, Liz, I didn't mean that. And she hangs up in a huff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
He does eventually leave the office.
He leaves immediately after that.
Yeah, he's probably still got like only 15 minutes to get there. And they're in Minneapolis, and he's downtown.
I would like to point out, when she gets upset about this later, she probably should have called him sooner. Because she's just calling him now to remind him.
Yeah, and she knows he does this.
Yeah.
I think we have to...
I'm not saying the clearest thing, but I'm just like,
I think
communication,
I do think we have to think about this, though. How much of a habit has this become? Because if it's become a habit to such a point where she does call him earlier, and he just still doesn't show up, so she's just, stopped caring as much, and, it depends on how long this has been going on. Obviously, he's a bad dad because he makes money for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a dick, but he is the only one working in this family.
That we can see. She might have a job. We don't know. But we do know his job at least requires him to work on the 23rd of December.
Christmas Eve.
Yes, Christmas Eve, which if companies would have it their way, well, toy companies would have it their way, you would celebrate that as a holiday. But if, work companies would have that way, you wouldn't celebrate anything as a holiday. So, Capitalism. You get no holidays, but everything is a holiday only in the terms that you have to pay for something for someone so that you buy things.
Anyways, Howard leaves, and he's running late and gets stuck in traffic. And while he's stuck in traffic, we cut over to the karate thing, and it's starting.
And we meet Ted,
who is
the house husband of the area, just the single house husband of the area, and every woman is, for some reason, attracted to him, even though he's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I don't get it.
He's not overly attractive. He's just an involved father who's also a douche.
Yes.
And only involved because he's a single parent.
But I think we have to assume, he's obviously the douche character archetype to make our bad father look like a good person.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for. He's there to make our bad father look good. But Arnold's character, Howard, is running late. He's sitting in traffic, and he realizes there's this whole shoulder of the road that has no cars there.
So he does that smart, but, definitely illegal thing, and decides to drive on the shoulder of the road.
Which is illegal. You can do it in some certain circumstances.
Like emergencies, you get away with it. But your son's karate class is not an emergency.
And obviously, because this is a movie, he immediately gets pulled over.
I'd say he gets a good 300, 400 feet.
Yes, but he immediately gets pulled over. And he tries to explain to the cop why he was doing it, which, that's fair. Typically, whenever I've been pulled over, a cop's like, hey, where are you going? What you doing?
Why are you breaking traffic safety rules and driving on the side of the road?
Yeah, and like that's pretty normal. And he tries to explain to the cop, "Hey, I'm running late," and the cop's like, "Oh, so I'm holding you up. I'm not doing my service the way I should.
I'm being an inconvenience to you."
Yeah, and so he abuses his power as a police officer because ACAB.
It makes him go through all kinds of tests that are clearly not necessary.
A bunch of field sobriety tests that are obviously not needed. He shows no signs of being drunk, unless you're being racist and assume his Austrian accent is slurred speech. So
Yeah.
either this cop is racist or a dick.
Or both.
Or both. He is a cop.
Yeah, he can easily be both.
Yeah, okay.
Especially because he's a white cop.
But so by the time Howard actually gets to the school, no, their parking lot's empty, which makes me question why he even runs inside at this point.
Yeah, like, he runs inside, and it looks like it's just a school building where they've held, like, a karate
It's just a school building, yeah.
belt ceremony, which is why it was important to his son. His son was going from a yellow belt to a purple belt.
Yes.
Which, I mean...
I don't know how karate belts work.
That's
don't ask me.
neat. I mean, he's, like, 4 belts away from black, I think.
3. He says it later.
Well, no, he says he's 1 belt away from green, and green is 3 belts away from black. Also, belt systems are entirely irrelevant because they differ from like fucking place to place all the time. You have a few like set, and then you have other bullshit. So who knows?
Anyways, he does go inside even though the parking lot's empty, and there's just a janitor cleaning up.
Yeah. We cut back to him going home. Like he's right outside his house, and Ted is on top of his roof.
Yep, Ted is on top of his roof putting lights in, which is we don't get a clarification if Liz gave him permission.
Yeah, Ted.
But if
Howard asks Ted if he got permission, and Ted never fucking responds to him. He's just like, I had extra lights in time.
And Liz doesn't reply when he asks Liz. So, assuming that he didn't, that nobody gave Ted permission to do this,
he's fucking wasting Howard's electricity.
He's breaking so many laws.
Yeah,
it's trespassing and like
you could consider it vandalism.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
I don't think most court cases would hold up to you on that.
Oh no, you 100% could get a vandalism case here.
I mean now, but I'm not sure about 1996 getting that rule as vandalism.
Especially if he like breaks a roof tile or something.
Oh yeah, definitely then.
But yeah, Ted's just being overbearing, and also that's not here yet. But then Howard goes in and he talks to his wife. He's like, they get into an argument. She's like, you don't need to apologize to me, but
yeah, he's just going like, traffic was bad. I got a speeding ticket. Like, one, he's clearly upset about the fact that he missed his son's thing, and annoyed that he got pulled over and had a speeding ticket, and like, I'm assuming stressed just from the bullshit the cop had me with. Like, no matter how in the clear you are, anytime you encounter an officer, you always come out stressed. It's the whole fucking authority, and that this person has the ability to fuck up my entire life if they just feel like being a dick today. So, I mean, the guy's obviously definitely stressed out, right?
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah, I can understand his wife's point too. Like, upset. You said you were going to do this, you didn't do it. Whatever.
So Howard tries to go talk to his son in the living room.
Who is watching Turbo Man late at night, despite having watched it earlier in the day too.
I mean, Turbo Man's super popular. Well,
I'm just wondering when its time slots are.
They have Cartoon Network East and Cartoon Network West.
I mean, that would work, but I don't think that was a thing in 1996.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
That was literally before I was born, okay? I have no clue what happened in 1996.
To be fair, I wasn't old enough to have cognizant memories.
That's just because you're a weirdo. And you have shit memory. Also, you were too, and most people don't remember that time, but I'm still going to blame you for your lack of memory.
That's what I meant by not old enough to have cognizant.
I know. So, when he's trying to explain to Jamie, Jamie's just not really paying attention. He's upset. He's just kind of ignoring his father. And so, he walks away and goes up to his room, and Howard goes to follow him. And Jamie kind of slams the door in his face.
No. There's no kind of. He literally slams the door in his face.
Yeah.
But then Howard enters the bedroom, and Jamie's laying in his bed trying to read a comic. And Jamie's bedroom is fucking amazing.
Yeah. He has the wall behind the headboard of his fucking bed is just a giant from floor to ceiling painting of Captain America deflecting bullets.
Those two walls are one giant mural. Like,
yeah.
From his bedroom door to his closet door on the other wall. Just one
giant mural of Captain America. And it's amazing. And this is all hand-painted, because it's not like fucking fatheads and that bullshit existed. Also, I hate those anyways, but it's hand-painted, it's wonderful. It's like spot-on comic book art, too.
Are fatheads still a thing? Are people going to understand that reference?
Oh, yeah, I think they are.
Okay.
Giant wall decals, if you don't know what they are, they're giant wall stickers. There we go. Congratulations.
Yeah, essentially. So his room is awesome.
Yeah, also, he has some cool toys. Like, I noticed in the background, it was kind of blurred, but he has, like, Fantastic Four toys, like the cool art Fantastic Four toys, not like the shitty 90s. What the fuck why did they give Invisible Woman a boob window that is just the number 4? But, like, classic, full blue unitards with black and white detailing on them.
His pillow is also a Fantastic Four pillow, so other than Turboman, this kid, like, loves Fantastic Four.
This kid loves heroes, it seems.
Yeah.
Though I like how he then doesn't recognize them later in the parade, but whatever.
Yeah. So Howard's trying to, like, cheer Jamie up, like, make Jamie talk to him, and he legitimately just makes a fool of himself.
Yeah.
Ties Jamie's purple belt around his head, makes
dumb kung fu noises, a high kick that looks horrible.
A high kick that almost kicks his son's comic.
Yeah. I didn't see what comic he was reading, actually. Did you?
I thought it was a Turboman comic, but I couldn't get it, like, look at the
maybe.
cover. But Jamie then gets up and goes over to his desk and, like, starts drawing a picture or coloring a picture.
Yeah.
And eventually, Jamie starts responding to Howard, and Howard's like, "What can I do to make this up to you? I'll do anything."
Maybe there's a certain Christmas present you want. And Jamie's just like, I've already got that covered. I told Santa. Santa will get it for me. It's all dope. It's all kosher.
Anyways, he being Harold ends up being Howard. God, I wrote his name as Harold so many times.
I thought you searched and replaced that.
I did, but it's still in my brain.
Okay. So
I just typed it too many times as Harold.
Howard ends up being like, well, sometimes Santa needs help from parents. And so his son finally tells him, and his son recites, like, word for word, just a commercial spiel.
Batteries not included.
Yeah, he goes through the toy, all the stuff you can get with it, the attachments and everything, and then ends it with batteries not included, and I think something about tax is in there too.
I don't remember.
But yeah, the kid has the commercial memorized.
Yep. At this point, it's a commercial with Turboman, obviously.
Yeah.
And Howard is like, "Oh yeah, we'll make sure Santa gets you a Turboman."
Yeah, and Jamie's like, well, good, because everyone else is getting one, and whoever doesn't get one is going to be a major loser.
Mm-hmm. So Howard is going to bed that night, preparing for bed with his wife, and he's like, "You should have seen us. We were really bonding." And he was talking about this Turtle Man or something.
And he's like, Turbo Man. Yeah, I told you to pick it up like 2 weeks ago. You did, right?
And he lies to his wife.
He's like, yeah, of course why wouldn't I listen to you and do something that you wanted? I got Turbo Man, and she's still skeptical, so he, like, lists some of the things that Turbo Man toy does. Like, it has 5 different phrases. It has actionable limbs and whatnot.
Yeah. And this is also the point, because on the radio the next morning we hear somebody mention Minneapolis,
yes,
which is where this movie takes place.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yep. So next morning he is getting ready. He's got himself dressed and ready to go out, and is heading out of the house when his wife stops him.
I'd like to point out his son is munching on some Turbo Man cereal that just looks like discs that I would have to assume, if we're branding the cereal correctly, is the discs Turbo Man can shoot from his wrist launchers.
Yeah, obviously.
They don't look appealing. They are thick and just look like pure wheat. They look like...
They might be like Kix or something. Pops.
I mean, I think Kix is a wheat grain cereal with sugar.
It's like a sweet corn cereal. It's very good.
I mean, maybe, yeah, whatever. I don't eat a lot of cereal, and the ones that I do, I eat very specific cereal, and it's all, none of it's name brand. I didn't grow up with name brand cereal, people.
Well, also, like, knockoff Cap'n Crunch is still good Cap'n Crunch.
Actually, I'd argue it's better. Most of the time, the crunchy bits are larger than the tiny ones. They cut your mouth less.
But his wife's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "The office. I had to pick up the DOLL. I left it there the last night by accident."
And she's like, "Yeah, sure, that makes sense." And then his son's like, "Wait, you can't go to work. You promised to go to the parade with us."
The holiday wintertainment parade. We go every year. Except by we, I mean Mama and me, because you haven't gone the last 2 years because you suck.
You didn't go last year or the year before. And because I'm young, I doubt I remember anything past that.
But Tomorrowland's going to be there. You have to be there this year. So Howard promises that he'll be there.
We have a deadline for when he has to get this doll, basically.
No, we don't. They don't say anything.
No. I'm just saying that's like movie setup time. Like he has to be there.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he has a time limit before he gets the doll. We just don't know when that time limit is.
We already had a time limit. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, but now it's been moved up.
Okay.
He's already on more of a crunch. Also, the amount of time this movie takes place over does not make sense.
I don't know what time this parade starts. Like,
it's still light out, but he's leaving in the morning when it's light out, and it's winter.
Well, he gets to the store at 8:58 a.m.
Which it's not as bright as it was when he fucking left home in the winter.
Actually, you're right. Minneapolis is close to us, and the solstice is the 21st.
Yeah. No, the daylight that this movie experiences is unprecedented.
A literal celestial miracle.
Yes.
So, Howard's on his way out to his car, but he's accosted by a reindeer on a leash.
The reindeer is being held by Ted,
whose name I've written as Tim several times in my notes.
I thought it was Jim at first, which is nowhere near Ted.
It's funny that we got names that rhyme, though.
True.
Howard's like, okay, but what do you plan on doing with the reindeer after Christmas, Ted?
Oh, yeah, because, first off, the reindeer doesn't like Howard.
Yeah, no.
And Ted's talking about how he got it for Johnny. And Ted's whole plan is to take a reindeer and try to bond it with this family of deer he's been watching.
Out of the lake, yeah.
This man does not know the difference between reindeer, normal deer, and habitats. And also, if he was caught doing that, do you know how much fucking trouble he would get in?
I mean...
So much fucking trouble. Also, I don't think you could own a reindeer in Minneapolis.
Probably not legally.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like something that's gonna, like, unless you have a special license for it.
Yep. And so Ted is asking Howard,
where he's going, what's going on.
And Howard's like, gotta go Christmas shopping, gotta go get a Turbo Man.
And Ted's like, I already got Johnny one. I got it months ago. After all, Christmas is something you should do the utmost you can to make special for a child.
It's nestled safely under our Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But by the way, Ted's a douche.
Oh yeah. My favorite part of this interaction though is at the end of it when he's going to drive off. Ted goes, "Oh, hey Howard, it's supposed to get icy tonight, so you should probably put chains on those tires." And Howard mutters under his breath, "Someone should put chains on you." And you know, whether that just means chaining him up and leaving him to rot somewhere, or I pictured in my head wrapping him in chains and then throwing him in like a giant body of ice cold water. Either way, it was an enjoyable moment.
We do get to the store, and there's a crowd gathered outside waiting for the store to open.
And our man has forced himself to the very front.
And there's a manager signaling to his watch that it's 8:58 and they don't open till 9.
And everybody's literally everyone in the staff, no one's doing anything. They're all just standing out there ready.
I don't want to be a dick, but there's no reason why he can't open 2 minutes early.
Asserting his power.
Oh. You know, everybody in this movie literally sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody in this movie sucks. I had to think about it for a second.
Who did you think didn't suck for a moment?
The radio DJ?
No, he sucks.
Nah, he's...
Yeah, no, the radio is being intentionally scummy. The person that sucks the least, I would say, is the diner owner.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because he just sends these guys out to harass someone at a radio station.
He definitely doesn't suck.
I mean, he has to pretty much understand that that's not how radio calling competitions work. But he's just trying to get 2 guys out from ruining his restaurant.
Yeah, like, he's the guy that doesn't suck. We got there. We made it.
And I guess, like, the float attendants. Fast hockey man. He doesn't suck. He just doesn't. He's just panicked by his job.
Yeah, I mean...
We got 2 people who don't suck. We figured it out. We'll get to them later.
That's really sad. But, so then we meet Myra and Larby, who lets Howard cut in front of him in line. And Myra
line is a strong term. You mean blob of citizens.
Yes. And Myra and Larby is a postman. And he's still dressed in his post outfit and has his bag of letters and stuff with him. Because whoever made this movie was like, they're not going to know he's a postman unless he has the bag of letters.
Yes. And, you know, he's just commiserating with Howard about how they only have like one chance a year to fucking do shit, and people are making him out to be a bad dad because, well, for like in Myron's instance, this is the busiest fucking time of year for him. People are sending letters to people they don't ever talk to. They're doing all this kind of shit, and he's working every day except for like Christmas Eve and Christmas. So he has to do last minute shopping.
We can't make him too sympathetic though, because he is a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, so that's where he's at first. And then he goes off about how toy companies are using commercials to hypnotize people and subliminal messaging. And he knows all of this because he went to community college for a semester and was taking psychology. So he's right up in there. He knows how it all works.
Hey, Joseph.
And in his rant, as he breaks down, he grabs a woman and starts to strangle her.
Yes, he does. Hey, just as your year of psychology in college.
How many conspiracy theories did that open up my mind to? All of them. I know all of them. And just instead of panicking about them, I just joined them all.
Oh, that makes sense. I would do that too.
Yeah. Do you know how much money I'm making off of people by just not saying shit?
So, while I was in the store, Howard and Myron realize that there's no Turbomans anywhere in the store. So they ask some store employees about it.
And one of them is Chris Parnell, who is just a wonderful actor. In general, he's an amazing actor, but you probably most likely recognize him from his voice work as Cyril from the FX show Archer.
He's done some other voice work too that's pretty iconic.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's probably his most iconic.
Can't think of anything on the top of my head because I'm not the voice actor guy. Justice, what else has he done?
Other stuff. He's not an anime voice actor. I don't remember his name.
He's not an anime voice actor. Why would I know?
Well, I clearly remember his name and his voice. That's how I based it. I don't know his face. I was just like, oh, that's Chris Parnell's voice. I actually have a hard time really remember them off of like what shows they do off the top of my head, but if you give me their voice, I can tell you.
He's done a bunch of stuff on Family Guy. It's like an episode of Simpsons.
That sounds right. He's what's his name? Rick and Morty, the father, Jerry. He's Jerry on Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Probably more well known and iconic for now. Yeah. He was on Anchorman, 21 Jump Street.
He's one of the narrators for Adam Ruins Everything.
Oh shit, he is. You're right.
Yep. Anyways.
Oh, he's the narrator for the video game Maneater too. I pointed that out when you were fucking playing Maneater.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. So that's Chris Parnell, in case you didn't know.
And he has a very bit part. I just immediately recognized him. So.
This movie's got a lot of good actors in bit parts.
Yeah, that's very true.
And when they ask Chris Parnell about Turbo Man, literally everybody in the store laughs at them.
Well, he starts laughing and mocking him, and then he pulls in a coworker, laughing and mocking him. And then he's like, then everyone around them starts laughing, and then he offers them a booster. To which, of course...
Everybody hates Booster.
Well, Howard first says, I don't care about Booster. And then Myron says, everybody hates Booster.
That's 2 drinks. I said it, he said it. You gotta drink. Everybody hates Booster.
And then, I think the crowd mentions it too.
Yep. So, they eventually get the employees to tell them about a woman who just picked up the last one from...
Layaway.
And they both take off running after her, looking for her.
And the moment they take off, Myron swings his bag into Howard and knocks him into a display stand of boosters.
And this prompts Howard to steal a kid's RC remote control.
To which it's like, hey.
To use the RC card to trip Sinbad.
And then the kid's like,
oh,
cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Myron's played by Sinbad. We haven't mentioned that.
Yeah.
I mean, we did earlier.
We mentioned he was in it. We just didn't mention he was Myron.
Yeah. Sinbad. Before he went on to be famous for Shazam.
Yep. That's what he's famous for, right?
Yeah.
Not being a stand-up comedian or anything?
No. It's for that movie Shazam he did in the 90s.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Before we get to the actual ending of this movie, I don't want to do it at the end because that's too easy for people to find.
Oh, true.
This episode is going to go up at roughly... So, this episode's going to go up at midnight, 12 a.m., Christmas Day, in the last time zone in the world. And that will be 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
Roughly noon for any British folk that may be listening. If you have trouble figuring out your time from there, that's not my problem. I've given you 3 time zones to figure it out with. But, so this is going to go up at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon British time, or midnight a.m. Dateline West, International Dateline West time.
Something like that, yeah.
And you will have 24 hours from the time this episode goes live to send an email to copilotsreview@gmail.com with either a link to your Amazon wish list or your Steam wish list. And one lucky person that actually manages to follow these instructions will win one item on their wish list with a value of $50 or less.
Yes.
Just a Merry Christmas from us here at Copilots to you, the listener. This is our first Christmas as a podcast, and we just really want to thank you for listening and making this year for us.
Yeah. And if you want to include anything else, like questions, things to watch, whatever your favorite movie is, your favorite Christmas movie is, or how much you hate our opinion on this, which if you do, you're wrong, but whatever.
Thank you again. Just remember, email at copilotsreview@gmail.com. I need a link to your Amazon wish list or your Steam wish list. $50 or less, one item off your wish list.
Yeah.
The less items on your wish list, the more likely you are to get exactly what you want. But the more items on your wish list, the more likely you are to be surprised.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So he manages to trip him up.
Yeah, with that RC car. And then outside the mall, outside the store.
Yeah, he sees the lady driving away. And he sees our Turbo Man action figure shoved into the back of her seat.
Against the window.
Yeah. Not in a bag. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And he chases after her until she, sees him and speeds off.
Sees him, panics, peels away. We literally hear her tires squeal, and she, no trunks or anything, just pulls out in front of the car in front of her and tears away.
Yep. And so we then get a montage of
him just driving around looking for a Turbo Man and being mocked at and laughed at by people the entire time.
I wrote Arnold there, and I was trying to remember the character's name.
Oh, there are so many points where, because my phone apparently will just autofill the name Schwarzenegger in for me after I put SHW, that I didn't even bother typing Howard. I just SHW, click Schwarzenegger.
So
continue.
yeah, we get this montage of Howard looking for Turbo Man and getting laughed at by every store in Minneapolis.
Also, this show is so popular that there's a movie in the movie about it.
A live-action movie going on in theaters while this is happening. At one particular store, Howard gets in a fight with a Turbo Man cardboard cutout.
Yes.
And we finally get back to Howard's house. We jump back to Howard's house, and his son is fighting with Ted's about who gets to be Turbo Man when they play pretend.
Yes.
And then we cut away from them while Ted and...
Actually, in the background, you can hear them argue about who has to be stuck being Booster. Because no one fucking wants to be Booster. Because everyone hates Booster.
And then Ted is creepy with Liz.
That is... Yeah.
He, I'll take over the cooking, the baking. You can go take a shower.
Yes.
You really need it. Go take a shower.
And when he says that, he reaches around her to remove her apron and makes a really creepy fucking face. And his hands are sitting way too long to be untying an apron.
Yeah.
And she just looks entirely uncomfortable with the situation, tries to push him away.
Yep.
But he continues to hold her there.
In the background of all this, though, Johnny, Ted's son, and Jamie have went from fighting about who gets to be Turbo Man to legit, fighting and hitting each other. And, they're taking karate lessons. They could really hurt each other, and nobody's paying attention to them.
Oh, yeah, they both just became purple belts.
Yeah, they could really hurt each other, and nobody's watching them try to murder each other because neither of them want to be Booster. Because
everybody hates Booster. I gotta refill my alcohol.
So yeah, so Liz goes off to take a shower. Ted takes over the baking, and then
Ted takes over the baking is strong, meaning it's already in the oven. He just has to take it out, and he immediately forgets that she's told him things are hot, picks up a cookie and burns his fingies, and gets pissed. And then snaps angrily at the children without even looking to see what they're doing. He just yells to them to shut up.
Yeah, and then as Liz is left to take a shower, Ted's gnawing on these cookies, which aren't really for him. But, whatever. And Howard calls the house because he needs to talk about how he hasn't found a Turbo Man. But Ted picks up because, once again, he sent Liz to take a shower. And Howard's like, I need to talk to my wife. Can you go get her?
And all the while, Ted is making the worst sound you can ever make to someone. Loud, sexual moaning, plus chewing sounds.
These cookies are so good.
Your wife's cookies are amazing.
And then Howard's just like, Ted, can you go get my wife? And Ted's like, I think she's in the shower. Do you want me to go get her still?
And Ted's like, no. I mean, not Ted. Howard's like, no. Just tell her I'm sorry. I'm going to be a bit late.
Yeah.
And Ted's response is, I don't think she's going to care. I'm here for her.
And then the timer in the oven goes off, and he's like, oop, gotta go.
More cookies.
And so he hangs up on Howard.
And he was calling from a payphone on a street.
And as he walks away from it, Myron, the postman, begins to harass him again.
Well, he shows up, and he's not harassing him. He's apologizing.
He's definitely harassing him. He's not apologizing.
No, he apologizes and thinks they should team up.
He's harassing.
And
this
when
is harassment.
Howard's like, no, that sounds like a bad idea. You just attacked me out of nowhere. Like, Myron goes on about how apparently they were good enough to work together at the store, but not now. So apparently Howard's racist.
Mm-hmm.
To which the obvious response is, he was fucking working with you as a team all the way up until you smacked him with a mail bag filled with packages into a stand.
Yep. This is harassment. He says no, and the guy keeps chasing after him. Literally, textbook harassment.
And then some random guy runs past him and goes, Toy World has a late shipment of Turbo Man, come on.
And so Howard and Myron run to their vehicles, hop in, and get ready to take off. But when Howard backs up...
They both have a bit of problems.
Yeah.
Myron apparently can't figure out that he should open the door all the way to stop slamming his bag in the manual sliding door of his mail truck.
Yeah.
And Howard goes to back out, and there's a police bike way too close to his bumper.
And parked illegally.
I mean, everyone is parked illegally. They are all parked facing the wrong way on the street that has parking signs that tell them not to park in the direction they're parked.
Yeah, but this police bike is also parked illegally. And this is a police officer, once again abusing his power because ACAB.
Obviously.
But it's a movie, so of course, it's the same police officer that pulled him over the night before.
Which I'd like to point out here. He backs up into a bike way too close to him that's parked illegally. And doesn't like fucking speed off. He gets out of his car, goes to check on the bike, picks the bike back up. And then it's the other officer. Then it's the officer again who's just like upset that his bike got knocked over because he parked it illegally, and I guess it ruined his coffee break because of course the cop is getting coffee.
Yep.
Which honestly doesn't feel like too much of a stereotype in this situation because it is cold as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
And he is a bike officer. He is on a motorcycle wearing like a leather jacket.
It's Minnesota in the winter.
No face covering. Yeah. I'm okay with this.
As the officer and Arnold Schwarzenegger are staring at each other, Sinbad pulls by and makes a snide comment before heading off to the store to get a Turbo Man.
The officer literally looks at him and asks Howard for his license and registration.
Yep. Then we fast forward. We're at the Mall of America now.
Is it Mall of America?
Yeah, it's the Mall of America. It's the biggest mall in the United States. It's the only thing famous about Minnesota.
I didn't realize they were at the Mall of America. I didn't realize Toy World was in Mall of America. Do they call it Mall of America in the movie?
No, there's just a giant sign on the front of the mall that says Mall of America.
Okay, I didn't remember seeing the outside of the mall. That's why I'm wondering. Like, obviously it is the Mall of America at that point. It is in Minnesota. I just didn't stop to think about it.
Yep.
I just wasn't sure if they like straight up referenced it, and obviously they do. So it's all good.
I mean, they never say anything about it, but like,
it has a giant sign, so it is referenced.
Yeah. And Arnold gets there just in time for the manager at Toy World to be like, okay, so we did get a late shipment of Turbo Men, but we're going to run a lottery system here.
We're going to have these balls, and we're going to draw numbers.
Yep, standard lottery system. And you'll line up and get one number each. And then all the people that are supposed to be handing out the numbers just throw the numbers in the air.
Well, they get attacked by ravenous consumers.
Yeah, and then...
Also, I'd like to point out the manager has made this entire speech from one of those tiny little microphone toy speakers where you speak into it and it comes out like a tiny little box. And he's also doubled the price on all Turbomans.
Which caused us both to pause the movie and look up...
price gouging laws.
Which Minnesota has none.
So it's perfectly okay. It's scummy as fuck, but perfectly legal what he's doing here.
Yep. So we then get a chase scene where everybody's trying to get a lottery number ball. And eventually Arnold Schwarzenegger gets his hand on a yellow one.
At the bottom of this dog pile.
And then Myron takes it. And Arnold points...
After spraying mace in his face.
Oh, yeah. He sprays mace in Howard's face. And then... Howard points at Myron and says, he has 2 lottery numbers. And the crowd takes off after Myron.
Yes.
Because he's cheating. He's a cheater. And he doesn't have 2 lottery numbers, but, you know, whatever.
It feels more than fair. Like, Turnabout is normally fair play. This is above and beyond Turnabout. And it's perfectly acceptable because this man just maced him in the face.
Yeah, no, dude just got maced. This is fair.
So Myron gets mauled by like 4 to 5 shoppers.
Howard takes his yellow ball back. No. Myron drops the yellow ball and it starts bouncing away.
Bouncing through the mall. So we get a chase scene of Arnold Schwarzenegger chasing down a ball. He follows it down an escalator. It bounces off the escalator, so he jumps over the edge of the escalator onto a piano. From the piano, they are then running through like people, crowds, bounces off of giant construction blocks.
And eventually it rolls to the edge of this balcony.
And off.
And Arnold dives for it, and just as his fingers would touch it, it rolls off the balcony.
And his face just smooshes gently against plate glass. Thin plate glass that if you'd actually done this to, probably would break through.
And some child below catches the ball in their
stroller.
Yeah.
The child looks to be about 4 to 5, and the stroller feels unnecessary.
Yeah, 100%.
And like the child looks oversized for the stroller.
So the child meets Arnold's eyes. They kind of like... He yells, "Stay there!" So he runs after the child, trying to get to his lottery number.
By runs after, we mean runs to an elevator and stands there for a good minute.
But he does follow the child, who is going into a play area.
A dope play area, by the way.
And then we get this chase scene through a play area while Howard tries to get this ball back from a small child.
Yeah, the comedic purpose of this chase scene is big man, small space.
Yes. Ending with big man going down tiny slide into ball pit where a bunch of balls, and he just needs the tiny yellow ball.
So he finds the kid and she holds up the ball and he's like, just give it here. I have the shiny red ball, I'll trade you. And she sticks it in her mouth.
Yep, and he dives towards her and tries to pull it out of her mouth.
He's like squeeze on the side of her mouth trying to push it out.
Which, to be fair, in this case he's actually trying to save the child from choking on something.
Yes, but arguably because the logical thing here is he isn't a play place, he is just a random unknown man, but also, on a societal note, he is a man around children, so the immediate view is a negative context, which is entirely inappropriately wrong.
Yeah.
He is called a pervert.
And they beat him, and the moms beat him with their purses.
Yes. While no one is paying attention to the child who has just stuck a bouncy ball into their mouth.
Yep.
A rather large-sized bouncy ball that if she swallows, she will choke on it and die.
I hope in the terms of this movie that the child dies.
Yeah. Not in a real life connotation, but like, you know,
Hoping
as a point in
universe.
case that being a prejudiced piece of shit really is negative.
Yep.
And you should learn from it.
So he escapes the moms, and they hear him talk, and he's talking about trying to get a Turbo Man, and the mall Santa hears him talking about it.
Yes.
So the mall Santa and the elf call him over, and they're like, "Hey, we got Turbo Man."
Yeah. And he seems like it's like, that's sketchy. But okay. And they prove it by pulling out a Polaroid photo of the elf holding a Turbo Man unboxed and a newspaper with the day's date on it.
Yep. And Howard's like, "This is sketch-o." And the guy's like, "Oh, well, if you don't want our help, then..." And then Howard's like, "Well, how much then?" As the cop walks by, and he's like, "Shoosh. Hey, cop, hello, officer, Merry Christmas, have a good day." He's like, "Santa never delivers the gifts in broad daylight."
Yeah.
So we then cut to Santa, the elf, and Howard in Howard's car.
All driving to an undisclosed location.
A gated warehouse.
Yeah. With a guard dog.
Yep. So they get through the gate, they get to the warehouse, and the Santa knocks a code on the door to the tune of Jingle Bells.
Yes. And one of those fun face hatches open, and another Santa's there.
And he goes, "Password?"
Jingle Bells, Batman Smells.
And so we enter a warehouse that is obviously a scalping place.
It's a scalping place and a sweatshop. There are some toys being assembled here.
Yep, it's a bunch of knockoffs and such. And eventually,
Howard and his companions make it to an area.
And they give him a Turbo Man. It's wrapped in a box, and they're like, "It'll be $300."
Well, they make him give them the $300 before they hand him the package.
And they hand him the package, and he starts opening it up, and they're like, "No, you can't open it here." And that's because it's a Spanish knockoff.
Yes. Which he then proceeds to open, and it falls apart.
And he's like, I want my $300 back. This isn't like...
No refunds.
You guys are just thieves and scoundrels, and you're stealing people's hard-earned money.
You're con men.
Yep.
And the Santa goes, well, those are fighting words in the North Pole. So, Santa, a symbol. And it's just a herd of Santas and elves. And there are Mrs. Claus, but they don't get involved in the fighting. They all just disappear.
Yeah.
Like the moment the Santa's a symbol, there are no more Mrs. Clauses anywhere, and they were well dispersed and spread throughout.
I want to say,
Are you also appreciative that as we walked through, not a single one of the elves was a sexy elf? It was just people in elf costumes. There were no stereotypical sexy women elves.
I didn't notice, but I want to say,
I appreciated that.
even in real life today, in the year 2020, if somebody is offering to sell you a Turbo Man new in package for $300, you got to be skeptical. Not because it's too much, but because a Turbo Man sealed in box is like $800.
There's actual Turbo Man action figures?
Yes.
I kind of want one now.
The highest graded one is like a 9 point something, and it's $8,000.
Oof. But I want one.
A Turbo Man action figure box without the Turbo Man action figure is $40.
Fuck. Okay. Anyway.
A Turbo Man outside the box, nope. Just the action figure is like minimum $140.
Damn. Okay. So they assemble, and the Santa's like trying to goad him into fighting, and he's just like, I'm not gonna attack you. The guy keeps going, so he reaches out and grabs his beard,
Pulls it back towards him.
snaps it, and the guy goes flying backwards and then rolls and smacks into a pole.
Yep. It's the type of Arnold Schwarzenegger shtick fight that like has no bearing in real world physics.
I mean, after this point, all has bearing in real physics.
Yeah. That doesn't though.
Except for one punch.
Yeah, no.
So the Santas start attacking.
And he is holding his own against the Santas because he is Arnold motherfucking Schwarzenegger.
The first Santa that goes to attack him is meant to be intimidating. A Santa jumps down doing a 1080 front flip all the way down and pulls out some candy cane nunchucks.
And he's approaching him, and then Howard grabs a large plastic candy cane
and just beats him with it. Like, beats the man down. Ninja Santa lands no hits.
Ninja Santa gets a lesson in violence.
Yeah. So he gets attacked by a few others, and he's just taking them down. And then a very, very, very large Santa shows up.
Before we see the very large Santa, we hear two loud footsteps.
Yes.
And there is a Santa now standing in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger that is over 7 feet tall and 350 pounds.
It's the big man's show.
I mean, the opening music is just, it's the big show.
I don't fucking know. I think he was the giant at this time. Fuck off.
He was the giant at this time. But it's Paul White.
Yes.
The Big Show. The Giant. Andre the Giant's illegitimate son, according to WCW.
That's not the case. Don't believe anyone. Paul White doesn't have gigantism.
No, Paul White's just a big dude.
Also, Andre was better.
Paul's just a big dude.
Also, he's still cool. Like, don't get me wrong. But
And they get into a fight, and an elf jumps on the back of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Before the elf jumps on the back of him, Howard is getting just laid out by this giant Santa.
Like most people would when they fight a 7 foot tall man.
Yeah. And then a elf jumps on his back. And when Howard ducks, the Paul White Santa punches the elf, and he just goes flying a good 50 to 80 feet
all
backwards.
the way across the warehouse until he hits the other wall.
He hits some boxes, like, not all the way across the warehouse, but he flies. And that is the turning point of the fight in Howard's favor somehow?
Yep, Howard then manages to beat the Big Show Santa, but he's stopped when the original elf that led him to this warehouse tases him.
Yes.
And then there's a Santa dog pile on Howard.
And then the police show up, to which our original elf yells, "It's the Grinch, scatter." Which,
Yep.
you know, if you're running an illegal operation and you're posed as Santa and elves, calling the police the Grinch is probably the best way to do it. It's flavorful, and I actually really enjoy calling them the Grinch in that circumstance.
So Howard is now standing over next
On
to...
a note, if I ever rob banks and anything, they're going to be in Santa masks, just so I can refer to the police as the Grinch when they show up.
No, if I was going to rob banks, I would use horror movie killers, and I want Ghostface.
I'd wear one of those plainless masks and a black suit so I could be Slender Man.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Slenderman's movie is terrible, but you are what you do what you do. So Howard's standing next to one of the toy production lines and facing away from the police, and they like call out to him like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And he sees in front of him some toy badges.
So he grabs one. and proceeds to imitate a police officer while intimidating a police officer.
Fast talks his way through this, rolls 20 on his skill checks.
He does not fast talk his way through this. He shows a badge and then just threatens to ruin their careers, and he's a large, intimidating man with an Austrian accent.
I've been working this case for 3 years, and you bust in here and ruin it?
Wait until I tell the commissioner about this.
Yeah, it's still fast talking.
Hmm.
But he talks his way through it, rolls a nat 20 on the charisma check here.
The intimidate check.
Intimidate is a charisma stat.
Depending on what fucking game we're playing, bitch.
Yeah, I was using D&D, which is
Fuck
the game
D&D.
everybody knows. Anyways, he walks out of the police. He walks out of the raid, walks by the police station, gets in his car, and drives off.
Yes.
But as he's driving across the bridge to get home,
His car runs out of gas, or breaks down, and it's hard to tell which.
he runs out of gas.
I was assuming it was gas.
It's completely his fault.
And he is not even halfway across the bridge yet. And the next thing we see, he's pushing his car.
And we get a scene of him pushing it in front of this diner, which is where he stops at.
And from the shot we see from behind him, it's just a giant building behind him.
No bridge in sight.
No bridge in sight. So he pushed this fucking car in neutral by himself, which is still a fucking feat, because he appears to be pushing it just from the driver's side window so he can steer. So he doesn't have a good spot to push it from. By himself. For fucking at least a mile.
Yep.
Calling
so
it.
we stop in front of the diner and we cut back to Howard's neighborhood, where everyone is crowded around Ted and his stupid fucking reindeer, which is also named Ted.
Yes, his son Johnny named it Ted.
After his dad, because his dad is so cool.
Yeah.
And Jamie's like, man, I wish my dad was as cool as yours. And Johnny's like, well, my dad wasn't always cool.
He's only been this cool since the divorce. Maybe your parents should get divorced.
And then your dad would be cool too. And Jamie gets upset because, I mean, if that's what it takes to have a cool dad, I feel you, Jamie.
We never got that.
Yeah, no.
Johnny lied to me.
Johnny lied. 1996, Johnny lied to 2-year-old me.
Yeah.
So this upsets Jamie, who runs inside just in time
for Howard to call.
Yep. And Howard's immediately like, I need to talk to your mom.
Yeah, because the guy's car fucking broke down.
Yeah,
well, ran out of
obviously.
gas.
Yeah, like 100% reasonable.
So Jamie's just like, no, you gotta come to the parade. You, blah 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 blah. And Howard's just repeated like, I need to talk.
First, he's like, I need to talk to your mom, and
Yeah.
Jamie's like, she's busy. She's next door petting Ted.
And Howard's like, what? Get your mother now.
And then they get into an argument about how Howard needs to keep his promises. He said he would be there, so he needs to be there. And then Jamie's like, remember, Turbo Man always says, always keep your promises if you want to keep your friends.
Yes. And like, it took them a while to get to this point because Jamie would just keep going on and on while Howard was just like, I need you to get your mom. It's important. Jamie, get your mother.
Jamie, I can't come to the parade unless you get your mom.
Yeah. So after that point, Howard yells at his son to get his mother.
Look, I don't give a shit about Turbo Man, okay? I've had it up to here with Turbo Man.
He doesn't
I'm
say
paraphrasing.
shit, but yeah.
This movie's PG. He obviously doesn't say shit. I've had it up to here with Turbo Man. And Jamie's like, you wouldn't understand anyways.
Well, no. Like, immediately afterwards, though, like, I think kind of like a sign that he's not a shit father, immediately after being like, I've had it up to here with Turbo Man, which isn't even like yelling at your son for his behavior, just being like, I'm annoyed with the Turbo Man stuff, just cut it out from him and get your mom. Mm-hmm. He immediately is just like, I'm sorry.
And then Jamie blows up and he's like, you never keep your promises. You're never here when you say you'll be, da-da-da-da-da, and hangs up on his dad.
Slams the phone on the receiver.
Just as Liz walks in.
For you kids out there who don't know what a receiver is, well, you see, phones used to be these things attached to cords, attached to a little box-like thing.
My phone's attached to a cord 90% of the time.
True. But does it then attach to a box that's larger than your phone?
No, it's attached to a box smaller than my phone.
It doesn't matter. So there's also this little thing. It's like a little button that when you put the phone in a spot made specially for the phone, pushes the button down.
Oh, it's just the red button on my screen.
Yeah, and it immediately hangs up on them.
But why do you need a manual button for that? The red
It's
button...
all manual buttons. None of it's touchscreen. And when you would get really angry at someone, you would take that phone, which was just a speaker on one end.
Now I know what you mean. You take the phone and you
and a
flip
microphone
it
on the
close.
other. No. That's still too new. And you would take it and you would slam it on that button into the little spot made for it, and it'd be a forceful way to hang up on someone.
Yes, they also make a very loud noise in their ear.
Like a dick.
Yeah.
And it was best when you messed up and didn't actually hit the button. You hit like the side of the cradle so they could hear noise, and they could hear you like shuffling it around so it fits in and hangs up on them.
Yep. So in the diner, Howard runs into Myron again.
Well, no. Before that, as he hangs up, Liz has just come inside because she went after her son.
I mentioned that.
But this is where we get our one cuss word in the movie.
Oh, do we?
Damn you, Howard.
Oh, yeah.
She damns her husband.
Damn it. I missed that.
Yeah.
Anyways, back in the diner, Howard runs back into Myron.
Yeah.
And the two sit next to each other and commiserate while drinking spiked coffee. Myron spikes their coffee with a bottle of whiskey he has.
Yeah. And they just talk about how, like, as, like, dads, they get, like, one chance a year to prove they aren't screw-ups, and then they manage to screw it up.
Yep. They're like, it's not fair how it all the weight rides on the father at Christmas, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then Myron's like, I remember how my dad never got me what I wanted for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, at first, it's Howard talking about how he built Jamie a clubhouse.
Yeah.
And how it was super popular and how he wants to be a hero for Jamie again.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Did he use the word hero?
I think he does say hero, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wild.
Yeah, I actually think he does. And then it's Myron talking about how his dad never got him a present.
But the neighbor, who was already a multimillionaire, the neighbor got his son the thing that Myron wanted, and his son grew up to be a billionaire. And it's all because of that toy.
That's why Myron is a failure.
And then Howard has a vision of his son dressed as a postman drinking out of a bottle of whiskey.
And just being like, cheers, Dad. Merry Christmas. He's like, oh shit, I can't let this happen.
And then, as if a voice from above, he hears somebody say, you still looking for a Turbo Man action figure?
Haven't found one yet? Have you been looking all over?
And he's just like, yeah, that's me, 100%. And it's the radio in the diner, and it's like, well, the first one to call and properly tell us the names of Santa's 8 reindeers will win a Turbo Man.
Call 555-KPRS.
And so they rush to the telephone booth in the diner.
If you don't know what a telephone booth is, it has those telephone things with the receivers I mentioned earlier, but they're inside of a box that you stand in.
You have to pay money to use them.
Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, they have a door you can close so other people can't hear your conversation.
And this one does have a door because Howard closes it on Myron's hand.
Yes.
And then Howard manages to call into the radio station and get through on his first try, which,
fucking impossible.
bullshit.
Because they struggle for at least a minute to get to that fucking phone.
And he's naming the reindeer when Myron grabs the phone cord and yanks it out of the wall.
Yes. And then they can proceed to fight outside of it when they are interrupted by the
Server, the diner?
the server, the owner, I don't know what, behind the diner. And he's like, you know, the radio station's only 2 blocks away. Which, you know, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, this man clearly knows that's not how a calling contest works.
Yeah.
Because he's a rational human being. And I would assume these two gentlemen would know that's not how callings work, but I don't know how much... Well, they didn't put a lot of whiskey in their cups, but maybe they're both lightweights.
Also, to be fair, Myron was drinking directly from the bottle. Like, he spiked his coffee and then set his coffee aside and was like...
And maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger's a lightweight. Who knows?
100%. And they take off running towards the...
radio station.
But Myron's got a big bag of packages, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, before that, Myron shoves him into some stands on the street, which I'm pretty sure the stands that he knocks over are generally adhered to the street.
Yes.
To stop that.
Yes.
So he shoves him with enough force to knock over, like, new stands.
No, he doesn't shove him with enough force. He just turns Arnold Schwarzenegger's momentum in the right direction. It's purely Arnold Schwarzenegger's running speed.
You know, I'll buy that. Sure, why not?
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger quickly outpaces Myron as Myron is emptying things out of his mailbag, which highly illegal. He's throwing mail away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 But Arnold Schwarzenegger gets to the radio station first, and he's like banging on the glass of the booth.
Well,
he's
before that, we hear a guy calling in. He's just like naming the reindeer. He's just like Tony, Mark.
He names at least 2 types of beer here.
Yeah, I don't think I have any of the names right because I didn't put them down. But he's just naming stupid shit. Like, doesn't have a single reindeer right.
Yeah.
And then Schwarzenegger shows up and is banging on the...
And he's like, I know it, let me in. And the radio DJ is like...
Rightly freaks the fuck out.
And then calls the police. He's like, I have a crazy man here. Please help me. Please.
And Arnold goes over to the door and is banging on it and then just kicks the side of the door with the door jam. But it's a glass door, so the entire door shatters and swings open.
And he comes in and he's like, I know the reindeer. And he just
grabs them by the shoulders and names them.
He's like, I win, right? I win? And then Myron comes in. And Arnold's like, no, I was here first. I got it. I win. And the DJ's like,
that's not how... What are you guys...
And then Myron's like, doesn't matter. I got a bomb.
And he pulls out a package and like, but that's just a package. He's like, I work for the postal service. Do you know how many bombs get sent through the mail in a day? Hundreds of them.
I kept this one for when I needed it.
Yeah.
And so they have an altercation and the package ends up flying and it lands on the ground and just starts playing Christmas music.
Yes. And that is wonderful.
And the DJ's like...
Wait. Were you guys under the impression that we had a Turbo Man doll here in the studio?
And they're like, yeah, that's what you said on the radio.
No. We said he would get a Turbo Man. Eventually. We have a voucher here.
For when the stores restock.
Yeah.
And
so they're both obviously frustrated.
They realize that the DJ has called the police at this point because they hear sirens.
This is basically where we end with the DJ. So I would like to point out the DJ is played by Martin Mull, also known as Colonel Mustard from Clue, Leon Karp from Roseanne. He plays Jake Peralta's grandfather in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So when they show up, Myron...
Well, Howard grabs the voucher.
So. Yeah, Howard grabs the voucher and they're running out to escape the police. Myron gets to the elevator first and is like, ha, I beat you.
And the elevator's full of police. So Schwarzenegger takes off to the stairs.
He dips out towards the stairs, yeah.
And
Myron gets surrounded by police officers.
But Arnold gets stopped by the same police officer that's been bugging him since the Christmas Eve. And led at gunpoint back up to the floor with the rest of the police officers and Myron.
Where Myron has pulled out another package and is claiming it's a bomb.
And this time the letter bomb trick works. Myron and Howard both take off running.
He sets it down on the floor and they take off.
And Howard with the voucher for Turbo Man runs off, and Myron uses the elevator to escape.
Yes. And we see Bike Cop approaching the package, and one of the cops is like, you shouldn't do that. And Bike Cop's like, don't worry.
I was in the bomb squad for 10 years.
And he picks it up and he's like sniffing it. And he goes to open it, and when he does, we cut to Myron. He's like, ha, I got away. He's running across the sky bridge.
And then there's a giant explosion and the building shakes. And we cut back into the radio station and nobody's dead. They're just covered in soot.
And part of the ceiling is destroyed and Bike Cop's hair is fucked up. He's covered in soot and then he passes out.
Oh, yeah.
After the cop who asked before goes, how many years were you in the bomb squad?
To be fair, they should be dead.
Obviously, yeah.
So Howard finally gets home and he sees Ted putting the star on his Christmas tree.
Oh, before he gets home.
Oh, sorry.
He gets back to the diner where he sees... His car has been stripped and vandalized.
Yes.
Someone has stripped his car of everything and then tagged his windshield Merry Christmas.
Yep. And so he takes a tow truck to get home. And when he finally does get home, he sees Ted putting the star on his Christmas tree, which is his thing.
They apparently do that Christmas Eve night. It's a family tradition.
And he's peeved because his neighbor's like trying to take his spot in his life. And he's remembering Ted being like, I got Johnny a Turbo Man months ago.
It's safe at home, right under the tree.
And he's like, fuck it, gonna do it. I'm gonna break into Ted's house and steal that fucking Turbo Man. Fuck you, Ted.
We do cut inside of Howard's house then, where Liz is just explaining that.
What are you doing? This is Howard's thing.
And Ted's just like, it's fine, I'm here.
Howard's not here. I'm here. And she takes the star off the Christmas tree, puts it back in its box.
And the entire time, Ted's just being weird. He's like, what are you doing? I'm here. We can spend Christmas Eve together. Ted's not here. Howard's not here. He doesn't care about you or Jamie, but I can be here.
Yep. So Harold breaks into Ted's house and Howard. I don't know why this is Harold. I did Control H this to find and replace, but Howard breaks into Ted's house, grabs the package, and then gets trapped in the house by Christmas carolers.
Yes.
Ted leads Liz outside because there's Christmas carolers. He's like, "Oh, Liz, look!"
And he wraps his arm around her and pulls her close to him. And
Howard's like, aha, I can escape through the back. The carolers not in the back.
Yeah.
And so he goes to escape out of the house for the back, and Ted, like you said, was trying to put the moves on Liz here, puts his arm around her, and she pulls away.
Yeah.
And so, out in the backyard, Howard's like, I can't do this. I can't steal something from a child. I hate Ted. He's a piece of shit.
But Johnny is a kid, man.
I can't steal this from Johnny. I'll go put it back under the tree. And then Ted, the reindeer, is like, bitch, no, I'm going to murder your ass.
So he charges down Howard. And so they're running through the living room and the house. And they knock over part of a full-size nativity scene that Ted just has in front of his Christmas tree.
Knocking one of the wise men's heads into the fire.
It's Balthazar. Ted mentions it later. That's the only reason why I know.
Yeah. And then Howard traps
Ted in a different
dining room.
A dining room. I don't know. It has drawing pocket doors in it. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. So then Howard tries to prevent Ted's house from going up in flames because the fire alarm's going off. And
because the fire smokes up really badly, but honestly, if he hadn't done anything, it would have been fine because Balthazar's wooden head ended up directly in the fireplace where it was just going to burn, but he pulls the head out, which sets part of the carpet on fire.
And then to put the head out, he kicks it out the window.
And then it's me like, oh shit, that was a bad idea.
Ted and Liz see him standing in the living room holding Johnny's package.
That's a bad phrase when we're talking about a young boy.
Johnny's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's a bad phrase. And then they come inside to accost him for holding a young boy's package.
It's a terrible phrase. To be fair, he does deserve to be accosted, but not because it's a young boy's package.
No, because it's a young boy's Christmas present he's trying to steal.
And he's in his neighbor's house, which he set on fire.
Honestly, that part feels fine. Ted's been in his house a lot today, causing a lot of metaphorical fires, if you will.
Yeah. So his wife's like,
what the fuck's wrong with you?
And he tries to explain, but he doesn't have a good explanation. So his wife turns to Ted and she's like, can you take me and Jamie to the parade?
And Ted's like, sure. Liz leaves. And Ted says just this line out of nowhere, because we've not really established, other than the fact that he picks up the 2 clerks earlier, how physically fit Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is, other than the fact that he's a big guy, but we don't see him outside of a winter coat or anything. So that's why we know he's just average fit. But
I mean, big.
Yeah, big but average fit, right?
I would never call a man the shape of Arnold Schwarzenegger average fit.
I mean, literally, you could just get the right cut on a suit jacket and look like that.
I don't think so, but we'll go with your average fit.
We don't see
Arnold
the size of his rippling muscles. We don't
average.
see the size of his rippling muscles at any point in this movie. Besides when he is
I know you have body issues because we're both fat, but Jesus, if you think Arnold Schwarzenegger is average,
no, I'm talking the way the clothing are fit. You can't tell how cut the man is. You can just tell he's in shape.
His shoulders are so broad, Justice.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to hide with clothing. You can make anyone's shoulders look broad.
Okay, anyways.
No, that is a possible thing to do with clothing.
Okay, anyways, you were saying something about what...
And Ted just says, you can't bench press your way out of this problem, which is just a weird fucking line in general.
So then, after Liz and Ted leave, Ted the reindeer breaks out of the dining room, charges Howard, and Howard one-punches the reindeer out of consciousness.
Oh, yeah, because he's just angry, and he's like, you picked a wrong time for this.
Justice?
Yeah.
He's average fit, but one punches a reindeer.
I said up until this point, we haven't really done much with it.
He pushed his car miles.
Yeah, but we don't establish
Justice?
what his life's
He fought.
He works
fought a
all
horde
the
of Santa Clauses.
Yeah, but he works all the fucking time. How does Ted know how fucking fit the man is?
He fought a horde of Santa Clauses. I don't know where you're getting this average
It's not like he was in Santa Claus. It's not like he was in Santa with muscles. Santa with muscles is obviously fit. He was Santa with muscles, and also came out in 1996.
And starred Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
But, Justice...
I'm sorry, I got stuck comparing it to 1996 to Santa with muscles.
He fought the Big Show.
Santa with muscles has beat the Big Show. On more than one occasion. Much faster. And without the aid of a weapon.
Okay, so... we get a scene here that now we're... Do we jump to Ted and Liz, or is this where Howard gives the deer some beer?
Yeah, they're just chilling in the backyard. When Howard decides he's going to go to the parade, it doesn't do much.
Yeah, he gives the deer a couple of beer because he feels bad about punching it out.
We get like the parade. We're going through town, and then we see Jamie, Liz, Ted, and Johnny all in a car.
Mm-hmm. And Johnny and
Jamie get out to go hang with their friend, to go hang out in the crowd with their friend Owen.
Yep.
While Liz and Ted go park the car.
Mm-hmm. Ted goes to park the car. Howard is in a taxi on his way to the parade, but it's crowded because everybody's trying to get to the parade.
He gets stuck in traffic again. So
he bails out of the taxi and runs to the parade.
Yeah, he just hoofs it.
And Ted parks the car and starts trying to make some moves on Liz. He's like, look, you don't have to pretend for me.
You want some eggnog? You can tell me what's wrong.
Non-alcoholic eggnog because I'm a straight edge guy.
Yeah, tell me what's wrong. I know something's wrong.
I'm Flanders, but a complete douchebag.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels like a very accurate statement.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, I know you need somebody who can be your shoulder to cry on, and like grabs her and
forcefully pulls her head to his shoulder, and says that their feelings are mutual and that she should count herself lucky. How there are so many women that want to be in her position.
And she's like, "What feelings? What are you talking about?" And like, she's not having any of this.
Yeah.
But then he tries to like grab her and kiss her.
Wait, no. Before that, Howard sees them.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to charge the car and slams into a man.
The man is the police officer from the bike
cop who is holding a carton with coffee.
Who got blown up by a bomb.
And is perfectly fine now. His hands are bandaged, though.
No, they're in gloves.
Those
are thick winter gloves.
They look like bandages to me.
They got like fluffiness on the outside. They're not. They're mittens.
And the coffee goes flying up and comes down and lands on him.
Yep, burns his face and hands. And
the cop gets up and starts to chase him.
Howard runs off. And he runs off just as Ted tries to grab Liz and kiss her. And Liz takes the thermostat, hits Ted in the face. The thermos, yes, sorry.
She pulls out the entire thermostat system of the car and just beats him with it.
Beats him to death in his car. It's a fucking murder scene.
It's brutal and really out of place for this otherwise kids movie.
This movie just like this one scene. I guess we were watching the Ultra HD uncut version.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
She just like this one scene goes from like a PG movie to a rated R like snuffed style film.
Yeah, it makes Saw look like a walk in the park. Like this is straight up gore movie.
I misspoke though. Like she grabs the thermos of eggnog, which is open because he tried to pour her a cup
and just smacks him in the face with it,
splashing eggnog all over him.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Howard and the cop chase, and
the cop like slams into some buses and stuff, and gets more comedic hurt. And Schwarzenegger ends up in a parade float setup area.
Yep, he finds himself inside a warehouse, where he is then mistaken as the actor to be playing Turbo Man on the float.
Yes, because
the replacement actor, because
the other guy got injured.
But good news, he's showing
brain activity this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a good sign.
He's given a very brief rundown, suited up, and nothing is actually explained to him, and no questions he asks are answered.
And then we see the guy playing Booster, and it is Curtis Armstrong, who is just smoking away on some cigarettes.
You might recognize Curtis Armstrong as Booger from Revenge of the Nerds movies.
The voice of Snot for American Dad, where he just plays a version of Booger, basically.
Or one of the judges on King of the Nerds.
King of the Nerds?
Mm-hmm.
He's also done a lot of other stuff, but those are the ones you're probably going to recognize him from.
Yep. He's like, I'm glad you're here. I've been sweating my ass off in this costume. He doesn't say that again because PG
Actually,
movie.
I think he might.
Oh, maybe.
I think he does say he's sweating his ass off. I think we get the cuss words damn and ass in this movie.
Cool. So they start rising onto the float.
Yep.
And they're just having a good old time on the parade. And the radio announcers,
the commentators, whatever,
are basically walking him through this, like, because he can hear them on the radio. Like,
well, no, they're not the ones walking him through this. The one walking him through this is Booster. He's like, "What are you doing? Wave."
Mm-hmm. But then they're like, and it's almost time for
Turbo Man to pick a special kid who will get a special Turbo Man doll. Which then Booster says, "What are you doing? You're supposed to pick that up," talking about a Turbo Man figure. Mm-hmm. And then he says, "You got to pick a kid."
And he obviously picks his son because,
Nepotism. Also, because this isn't his fucking job.
He's not getting paid for this.
He's just been picked up off the street by random people.
Yep. So he calls out for Jamie.
And Jamie's just like,
how does Turbo Man know my name?
Because just before this, he was just pointing, and then someone turns on his mic. which has a voice filter to make him sound more like Turbo Man, apparently.
Yeah.
But before that, Jamie and Johnny were fighting about who Turbo Man was pointing to. Then he says Jamie's name, and Jamie's like, how does Turbo Man know my name? And Johnny's little young mind is blown because Turbo Man knows his friend's name.
Yep. So Jamie comes up on the float. He gets his action figure. And as Turbo Man's about to admit that he is Jamie's father, because Jamie's like, how did you know my name?
Dementor shows up.
And we got a scene earlier where somebody attacked the Dementor.
Because Booster mentioned that Dementors are going to show up soon.
Yep. And we see Dementor standing in like a building from where he's supposed to jump in at, and he gets attacked and
tied up, and his outfit is stolen and put on by someone else.
And
I wonder who that could be.
Myron jumps onto the float dressed up as the Dementor, and he's like,
jumped on is strong. He shoots a grappling hook to a light post and then zip lines down.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
At the correct angle to land on this float, get off, and be perfectly fine with no problems. Like, this man out of nowhere just pulls off some like unexpected skills.
And then he comes up and he's like, I want that action figure. That Turbo Man is mine.
And so they go to attack, and
Booster's
like, what are you doing? This isn't in the script.
And he uppercuts Booster
and goes, no one likes you.
That's a drink. Mm-hmm. And then he lands on the ground from the float. It's
and a horde
15,
of
20 feet fall.
And a horde of children run up and are just yelling consecutively, we hate you, Booster. No one likes you, Booster. We hate you. We hate you. We hate you. That is the many hates they say.
That's 5 drinks. Go ahead and...
Congratulations. That will be the last of the Booster hate.
Yep. So, then... Roll my notes here.
They start fighting.
And Myron sends his Dementor punch hand flying. And it smacks...
Howard, or Turbo Man, in the face.
And then returns to him. Like, whoever designed these suits should not be fucking working on the parade circuit.
I have to assume it's just like a rail system. Like, it has a small fishing line on it and a pneumatic pressure to send it launching.
Maybe.
Because it's just a fist. But mind you, the more important thing is, in the Dementor outfit still, Myron opens that hand later.
Yes. That's why, like, whoever designed this is fucking insane.
Yeah, he made actual detachable human hands.
So, Dementor grabs Jamie then because he wants the doll that's in Jamie's backpack.
Yes.
And...
Jamie yells at Turbo Man to use his turbo discs.
And he starts firing discs from either wrist, shooting Myron in the head with these metal flying discs, eventually knocking him prone and freeing Jamie, who starts to run away.
Well, he runs up to Turbo Man, where they rejoice, and then the demon team pop out of the set spot behind them and start to attack.
And then Jamie runs off.
No. Myron blocks him, goes to grab the bag, and asks Jamie, what are you going to do about it, kid? And he gets kicked in the balls.
Yep, that's right. And then
Jamie runs off into the parade crowd.
And the demon team are like, don't you know the choreography? What are you doing?
Yeah, and Myron, or Dementor, takes off after Jamie.
And so that leaves Howard, Turbo Man, to physically beat the shit out of these demon team because he does not know the choreography because nobody caught him up on anything.
And they're just going through, and they're not following the choreography because he's not following the choreography, so they're just attacking him for no reason.
And so he eventually bowls them over by throwing one into the rest of them.
He picks up Demon Team member Green and throws him at blue, yellow, red, and purple.
I think there's 5, yeah.
I might have those colors wrong. Who knows?
And so while this is happening, Jamie gets to a ladder on a building and starts climbing to the top of the building.
Yes.
And Dementor is following him.
And then his mom shows up and is like, that's my son. A police officer's just like, it's fine. It's part of the show. She's like, no, that's my son. And he's like, oh. He's doing a great job.
And he's just like, that's
not part of the show. And the police officer's like, oh. And then proceeds to do nothing.
A-cab again. So then somebody yells something about Turbo Man flying, and he's like, what?
No. There's an enjoyable part that they're climbing up. Jimmy gets up on top of the roof, and Myron's following him. He's like, man, I'm terrified of heights. Have you seen Vertigo? It's terrifying. Wait, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, and then somebody yells about Turbo Man having a jetpack.
It's the commentators. Turbo Man, fly.
Yeah. So Turbo Man has a literal jetpack here. Like,
it super functions.
And it launches him so high into the sky. Like, he just blasts off above all the buildings around him.
Yes.
And then uncontrollably flies around Minneapolis.
And then he turns his jetpack off at some point when he's really, really high up.
And plummets to the ground before managing to turn it back on again. Where then he flies into a parade sign.
Well, no, he starts to get a bit more control.
Then he flies into a parade sign where he gets spun around until he gets slingshotted back towards a building.
Flies through the window, interrupts, I think, was it Kwanzaa?
I don't know. But he flies through so fast that he, like, creates a vacuum that pulls stuff behind him.
Yeah. I was still catching up with notes, so I don't exactly know what that celebration was. Maybe it was a Christmas, a Kwanzaa, or something.
Who knows? What I do know is that there's no way he flew through that building without injuring himself.
And then he flies into a building.
Head first.
And it's just sitting there pushing his head against it.
Until it slips and he flies towards the ground.
Yes. And then it turns off.
And he crash lands to the ground. He's dead, and if he's not dead, whoever designed this armor should not be working for a parade system. And also, whoever thought, hey, this guy is being hired at the last second, he just read the user manual, he can do this, is fucking stupid. He got like no prep on how to use this thing.
And the last guy who did have prep is in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's on the ground, Jamie and Myron have climbed up onto this giant tree decoration, which then pulls up from its moors because of their additional weight.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I say pulls up, it pulls out these giant concrete eyelets.
Yes.
Like eyelets you drive into concrete from the ceiling, pull up chunks of the roof, and it starts to fall.
I don't think this thing could actually hold up to a strong wind. Like, this was a safety hazard to begin with.
Yeah. It tears off part of the roof. Whoever moored it.
So then
the tools used to moor it are correct. The cable is strong, the fucking eyelets they're using are strong, the stake things. The materials that it is on are shit. I'm pretty sure someone just walking casually across this roof would destroy it.
So Dementor and Jamie are hanging from this Christmas tree decoration over the ground. And Dementor reaches out and grabs the Turbo Man limited edition parade action figure.
Yes, and then Jamie yells, Turbo Man, use your turbo ring.
And he throws his boomerang, misses, but it's a boomerang, so it comes back and hits Dementor in the back of the head.
He falls down onto a parade float and crushes a giant present, but is otherwise safe.
And manages to keep the Turbo Man doll safe.
So he's rejoicing, and the turbo ring comes exactly back to his hand. He doesn't have to move at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the catch is so minimal, like it lands on his hand and then collapses back down because it was a full-down boomerang.
Mm-hmm. And Dementor landed in this float and is surrounded by police officers with their guns drawn.
Yes.
So they obviously know it's not part of the act anymore.
And then Jamie falls.
And Turbo Man flies up and catches him.
In a recreation of the scene where Billy was thrown off a cliff.
Yeah, it's just foreshadowing. Like, it's...
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It's a good book ending. This movie is good. Fuck everybody that says it's bad. What's wrong with you guys?
I don't know. I guess they just don't like Turbo Man.
So, back on the ground, everybody's celebrating, and Jamie's like, how did you know my name? And I just wish my dad was here to see this. Yeah. He's like, he was really upset because he's like, man.
This was amazing. This was great. Absolutely perfect.
I wish my dad cared enough to be here. And Turbo Man's like, your dad does care.
You're the most important thing in the world to him. And Jimmy's just like, well, how do you know?
And he's like, who would know better
than me? And pulls off the helmet.
To reveal that he is Turbo Man.
And Liz and Jamie are both like, what the fuck? And as they do that, Johnny, Jamie's friend and Ted's son, after that goes, look, Dad, Jamie's dad is Turbo Man. And we see Ted is covered in eggnog, and his son also says, like, why do you smell like vomit? And Ted just goes, come on, let's go.
Then a cop comes up and he's like, I believe this belongs to you.
And Turbo Man's facing away.
Yep, and gives the Turbo Man back to Jamie. And then he's like, Turbo Man, we could really use a guy like you in the force.
And then he turns around, and it's Bike Cop.
And he's like, well, thank you. Hopefully you'll remember that.
And sorry about the
speeding
and the bike and the bomb and the coffee and the bus.
Bomb. Oh, yeah, and the bus
and the bomb. And then Liz is just like, what?
She literally says, bomb?
Yeah.
What? And then the mentor is being carted away by the police, and he's like, what am I supposed to tell my son? That I couldn't get him the present, the only thing he wanted for Christmas.
See, I'm not sure if they really still think this is part of the show or not, because if it wasn't part of the show, Dementor should be in handcuffs.
Yeah.
Instead, they have him in not tightened zip ties.
Yeah, that's fair. Jamie runs up, and he gives him the limited edition Turbo Man. And
Byron's just like, thanks.
And Howard's like, I thought that was all you really wanted. And Jamie's like, yeah, but I don't need a toy Turbo Man. I've got the real thing at home.
Credits.
And I went to the bathroom here because credits, and I needed to pee.
But there's an after credit scene.
And I missed it.
It's just them all at home. Christmas Eve. It is now finally night, which it was not night during this parade. It wasn't even dusk. It's been day. It's been like...
We already went over this. It was a celestial miracle.
Yeah. All day long it's been day, though. But it's finally night. Whatever terrifying...
Oh, actually, hold on. Before we actually get to that, I wanted to do this earlier in the episode. I might put it in somewhere.
It's just them chilling around by the Christmas tree. Howard is putting the star up top. And his wife Liz is like, you really came through today. And just look at how much thought you put into Jamie's present, because apparently he has not come clean about how his day fucking went. And she thinks he was intentionally Turbo Man, and all of this was all fucking on purpose. So,
wait, it wasn't?
Apparently not.
Damn.
So she's just like, with how much thought you put into Jamie's present, I can't wait to see what you got me. And then it zooms in on his face, and he has like shocked, Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin face, surprised. And then that is the actual end of the movie.
Sorry for the clinking, guys. Just finishing this bottle of wine.
And that is Jingle All the Way.
The second best Christmas movie of all time.
Indeed.
Well, we can plug our own social medias, I guess.
Yep. We have that Twitter thing.
At Copilots Review on Twitter.
Yep. We also have that Gmail thing at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
We mentioned that earlier in the episode, though.
Maybe.
We definitely did.
Did we? I don't pay attention.
Yeah, when we talked about that thing where they can win something. You know.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Just a nice little Christmas present that a lucky listener will win from us.
Yeah. And, of course, you can also find us at
copilotsreview.simplecast.com. Yes, sir. And that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for flying with us this year. This is the last episode of 2020.
Yep. Maybe the last episode ever. Who knows? Probably not. We have intentions to keep going, but like every other year in speculation, maybe the world ends this year. That's right. I'm preaching that this is the end of the world. 2020, final year of humanity.
Man, that would be better than what I'm afraid of.
More COVID?
January 1st, 2020 on New Year's Day.
Oh, just fucking repeating?
Groundhog's Day of the year. Yep.
Oof, that would be horrible, yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh, God, we have to watch so many horrible shows again.
But assuming none of that happens, we will be back January 2nd, the day after New Year's Day, with another review for your ears. And again, thank you guys for this year. Thank you guys for listening. And
also, if you have any idea what a good New Year's show would be, tell us. We might watch it.
Yeah, I don't know what we're watching yet.
We never know what we're watching yet.
Anyways.
Thanks for being here, I guess.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year's. See you guys in 2021.